Welcome back, everyone, and to whomever is listening for the first time. I'm José, in case you don't remember my voice from last episode, and today I'm here with Anton. Can you present yourself and say something?
Hello, wonderful people and friends of tomorrow. I'm very excited to be here, and my name is Anton, as you've already heard. And actually, I'm living in Mainz at the moment, and so I'm recording from over there. And I'm really curious to what we're going to talk about today and how it's going to develop.
Yeah. So today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what the European Solidarity Corps is about, in the sense of how you apply. And since we've noticed that this topic might be not very interesting to people that don't want to be part of the program, we will share our stories first about our process and our adaptation and how did we get to that point of after the application and so on. So I was just like to ask you, Anton, where did you do your volunteering project?
Yeah, I did it in Poland, in a village, in a small, tiny village. Maybe I had 50 people living there or something.
Really?
Yeah, but it was wonderful because basically it was a little palace where there was a kindergarten inside and a youth educational encounter center, and it was pretty awesome for me because I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with young people, and that's the wish I had as well in the beginning, to work with youngsters. And yeah, it was challenging for me to stay there because in this village, of course, somewhere I think 60 kilometers away from Wrocław or Breslau, or I don't know if people know this town. It's a wonderful town, and I had the opportunity to learn Polish. I pick it up a bit.
Oh, really?
Because I was kind of forced.
Okay.
No one spoke, or very little people spoke a language that I'd master as well. Unfortunately, I didn't pick it up too well.
Okay, but it's nice to have. It's nice to be able to communicate with, or at least a little bit, with the locals. So it's good if you always try to fit in a little bit. Well, in my case, as I mentioned before, I did my volunteering in Soma Lombardo, like also very small like city. It's a city actually, but very small, near Milan in Italy, and yeah, basically it was me and another volunteering, and we were doing this international cooperation project, and we had the house for ourselves. Actually, the house was old but good to some extent, and no, it was we had a lot of problems, or some problems with our house, but it's nice that you always manage to solve those problems on your own. But yeah, I mean, it was it was like sharing a house with a stranger, and in the beginning we kind of set the rules and did everything trying to follow that, but in the end we got on really well, and we became really close friends. So yeah, that's nice. But what about you? Like, exactly did you like? Where did you live? In what circumstances, and so on?
Yeah, funny that you asked. I never really dared to tell people,
Okay.
because it was basically I was living in the palace as well. And I just that no one gets a wrong picture. It was a beautiful place, but it wasn't like a fancy, all neat and tight palace. It had its
definitely
edges and corners. But that's where I lived as well, on the top floor in a tiny room. But it was wonderful, and I stayed there alone. I was the only volunteer in the beginning, which was quite tough. But I also managed to get another one, another volunteer to this place, which was my savior, I'd say, in that sense, because
Yeah.
yeah, we really got to know each other well, and I think we became really good friends throughout the year. And I couldn't have imagined it without this person. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, in my case, I also, when I joined, or like when I went for my project and I joined the association, I was also alone because the other volunteer wasn't selected yet. We knew that it were going to be so me and someone else, but the other someone else hadn't been selected by the time that I was already working. Um, so I was a little bit part of the selection process of the other volunteer. And the funny thing was that in the beginning, the house that me and the other volunteer stayed in wasn't available yet. So basically, and this kind of proves that you need to be open for anything. What happens with this project is that they will always provide you with accommodation and the enough money to self-sustain yourself and to have your own travels and to go out. But you also need to be flexible and adapt to what they are available to offer you. So what happened with me was that when I arrived, since my house wasn't yet available because like there were some issues with like the renting of another house, so the association basically lost the house that I was supposed to be in, so they had to search for another one in like within a month, and finally they did. But before I moved in, I was living with the director of the association and his family for 2 weeks, and with his 3 kids and the dog. And it was really, I mean, in the beginning, it was strange in the sense that, well, I mean, they don't know me, I don't know them. But since I already knew some Italian as well, it was, and they were extremely welcoming, and the kids as well. And I don't, and many people will hate me for this, but I don't really like dogs. But I started to even like the dog, and it was called Wilson. Yeah, so just to say that you need to be flexible and to adapt to the thing. And once the point that I wanted to make, and once I moved to the new house, before the other volunteer arrived, it was kind of weird because I actually didn't have anyone. So I downgraded from living with 5 people to living, and a dog, to living on my own. And like the first couple of days were a little bit depressing. But then like you get your routine, and then the other volunteer comes, and yes, then it was perfectly fine basically. But yeah, it's nice.
So funny that you stayed with the family there.
Yes.
But
Um,
I can give you a high five for this, because I was also taking care of the volunteer that was then joining, and also
mhm.
being thrown into circumstances that you don't know before is actually really
Yeah.
refreshing as well. Because I thought,
Yes.
for me at least, it was okay, tough time, especially being on yourself in the beginning, but. I think I took some things from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's challenging, I would say. And like, and after I left their house, actually, I would go there because some of our projects and the activities with the schools, they were on that region, so to speak, and we would go to, me and the other volunteer, we would go to their house and have dinner together sometimes, and with the kids. So they became like my Italian family, so to speak. It was really cool, actually.
That's how it's
um
supposed to be, right? That's a
yes,
perfect shot
exactly.
there, having the
No,
family that you
they
can go
were
to have food, etc.
extremely nice. um I would like to ask you now about money and travels. Like, how much did you have, and like where did you, like, were you able to travel, and where did you go during your experience?
Yeah. Um, for first things first, I had accommodation and food covered, so I had
Uh-huh.
no expenses on that,
Yes.
which was lucky for me, because the food was amazing as well, and I
Good.
didn't have to cook for myself. most of the time. So I was having a great year. I had pierogi
Yes.
and other typical Polish food,
Polish.
and that was really amazing.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to money, then I received pocket money with which I always had enough money to do the things that I wanted to do, also the holidays. But I think it comes down to, for me at least, I think it might be different for other people, but for me it came down to
Yeah.
85 euros a month. I don't know how it was with you, but for me the 85 euros were more than enough, because then it was also calculated into zloty, and holidays. I basically did the holidays with the 85 euros, and then I went with the other
And it was
person that I
enough.
mentioned before, and we just took the train and went to visit friends that we met
Yeah.
during the arrival training or something,
Oh,
and then we
yes.
slept at theirs, and then it was of course less expensive, and
Yeah,
the
definitely.
money could go on the important things in life, like food and drinks
Yes.
and
Yeah,
pleasure
but you
time.
said that you had food, so you didn't have to worry about food. Like your 85 euros were for all the other expenses that you had.
Yeah.
In my case, wasn't that way, but I've heard some people that actually instead of having food already prepared for them, they actually receive vouchers. But that wasn't also my case. In my case, I received, besides the pocket money, I received 140 euros for food. So basically, now you already can see that the money we receive is different, because we lived in different countries with different living costs, and basically everything is calculated according to that, and everything is explicit in the contract that you sign on about the project for the duration of the project. And yeah, so basically, and the pocket money was 5 euros a day. So in the end of the month, you have like almost 300 euros. And I also managed to go to a lot of places that I really wanted to go for a long, well, maybe not for a long time, but I really wanted to go since I had been in Italy before that. And yeah.
What's the trip actually that you remember now when you look back? Like, that's a trip I did. Like, whoa, that was cool.
There are too many.
Yeah, too many to talk to tell.
No,
Right?
but I have, well, the one that I'm most proud of, that I know that would be more difficult to make if I was like flying from Portugal or from Sweden, that where I live now, was the Balkan trip. And basically I went from Milan all the way to Albania, visiting Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, and Albania, and then taking the boat back, the ferry back to Italy, the south of Italy. And just that entire 2 week holiday was insane. It was so nice.
That sounds really like many beautiful things happened during those. I never got that far. I always stayed with my travels. I stayed within Poland, maybe even
Yeah,
in a radius of 50, 60 kilometers.
yeah.
But
No,
I enjoyed it as well. I mean, I had a great time.
I'm sure about that. No, but for me, I really wanted to visit the Balkans, because I think it's a little bit like a place that most people don't give credit for or forget that they're there. And it was so close, and like there is connection from Italy. So I was just like, why not give it a try? And I had enough money, so, and days off. Basically, you have on the volunteering, I guess you always had the same arrangement, because I think it's for everyone in this case, that you have 2 days per month of like vacation holidays, that you can accumulate and use whenever you want. That's why like I took like 2 weeks off. And then on top of that, you have like the usual 2 days per week, 2 consecutive days per week. That is usually the weekend, but depending on like your association work, of course, it can change. Did you have any moment when it changed for you or not? Like,
Um,
did you always have the 2 days off coinciding with the weekend?
For me, it was completely flexible. I'm so thankful for that actually, because I had the chance to always communicate with my two wonderful chefs,
Mm-hmm.
to talk about when to take holidays, and most of the time I was living at the palace, so all the
Yeah.
things that happened at the palace, so I was always available kind of. So in
Yes.
that sense, I also worked on weekends sometimes, and
Yeah.
then during the week as well. And then if I ever wanted to go for a week somewhere else, it wasn't a problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
It just had to be communicated. And
Yeah, definitely.
for me, it was really, really awesome to live at the place where I work as well, because then I'd be always working slash
Yeah,
chilling.
kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I also had the same experience because I like our house was actually the like operating uh the what's the name of that headquarters, well, yeah, of the association. That's a really fancy word. Yeah, the operating headquarters.
Yeah, Jose,
So
where were
was,
you working? In the headquarters down there in
yeah,
Milano?
of Guardavanti. And it was in the same room. It was a really big room that I slept in, and it was like, for me it was if I wanted to work, I just needed to get up from my bed and like go to the table and start working. So yeah, that's cool. And
Similar to
regarding the
me,
days,
I
regard
woke
yeah,
up and I walked down the stairs, and then I
and you
was
were
ready
at,
to work. It
yes,
didn't take 5 minutes.
yeah. Well, you just need to be able to separate work and like your private personal life in that way. But I think you learn to do it with time. And volunteering is not like the work you do is relevant, but it's not the most difficult work or not the most consuming, at least. So it's pretty easy to deal with it. And I also wanted to mention regarding the days off, I had the same flexibility as you, I would say, because like also during, I also worked during some weekends and like on some national holidays, or at least for, I remember one, because we had a Christmas campaign fundraising, and like during the period before the 24th, it was like the craziest period in my association, because we had like connections with different we were raising funds in different shops in whole of Italy, and I was in one of the shops, and we would like go every day to Milan and come back in the end of the day to our little village that is like 1 hour away, and we always worked on the weekends. Like those 2 weeks were very intense, but then of course, like after Christmas, we didn't work until the 6th of January, so we had like vacations basically to compensate for that. So yeah, I think the point here is we all we need to, the contract says one thing and we will follow that, but if you communicate and if the association needs something, everyone will be or should be flexible and adapt to each other's needs basically.
Yeah, I think the contract only gives a certain framework
Yeah,
within you stay. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. But and I would like to now, before we finish it up, I would like to ask you, like, okay, so we've had this amazing experience, but how actually did you know about it? How did you get there? Like, how did you apply?
Yeah, the application process, the wonderful application process. I was in a time of my life where I wanted to do something different. I quit
Mm-hmm.
my studies and I thought, yeah, I need to do something else. I want to do something with young people, like I said before.
Yeah.
Also in the educational sector. And then I checked for different organizations, etc. And then, funny enough, my dad came around with this European Solidarity Corps,
Yeah.
and so we sat down together, and it's made really simple. So we sat down. 30 minutes later, I had my profile on this website. But maybe you can tell how it was for you and how the website works or the system works.
For me, I also used the website. I actually found it on my own. Like, I knew that the European Union has a lot of projects to help youngsters. So I was like searching for something, and I found the European Solidarity Corp, and you basically create your profile, and you can either be contacted by associations and like passively wait for someone to want your volunteering, or you can search for an association that you want to participate or like to work for. And basically every time there are either people contacting you, even if you already finished your project and you can't apply anymore, or there are always new projects coming up. So you always need to be looking out for opportunities, basically.
I think the fun thing about the application is once that it's simple, and the other thing is that you can do whenever you want. Because I know that I quit my studies somewhere in June, July, and then I applied, and maybe also September are the month where a lot of projects start. But I know from other people that jumped in the middle of the year somewhere, which I think is really cool.
I started in July, because also after I finished my studies, and it's like basically projects start anytime, and you just have to find the right project for you. So I think this is our time. Would you like to say something else, Anton?
Actually, I think that if I look backwards to the application process, etc., I think I'm quite happy how it went, and it's quite surprising because most of the time it's a weird time in life because you take a different path. But definitely the one I took was a beautiful one. And I hope that other people also have the chance to take a cool path.
Yeah, it's very rewarding, I would say. So you have a cool experience, and you meet cool people. And thank you for listening. I hope you liked this new episode, and hopefully you'll continue to listen to future episodes.
Future episodes! Woohoo!
So see you. Bye.
Bye.